I remember when I was working and living in Europe, every person I met said something about me that felt quite appropriate. They said I was very good with building relationships and I was like an extrovert. I could initiate conversations, I could talk to anyone easily at random. While I was working in IT, my peers and colleagues thought that I was most suited for a marketing or a sales profession. And then I came to India and I switched careers, actually many times. And every time starting from scratch because I had no one else to guide me or help me. I had no connections and I was more or less all by myself, hustling and struggling to understand how that particular industry worked. And I recall many years of isolation during that phase. I started telling people that I'm more of an introvert and I usually don't like meeting people and I'm happy doing just my work in isolation. And soon enough, this became my reality. This became concrete and started to show up in my life. And then many years later, I started going out and meeting people and thought to myself that maybe I'm not so much of an introvert. I love meeting people. I love talking to people and sharing and having good conversations. Right now, as you watch this, you think you're making the choices. You think you are deciding, thinking, being you. But what if I told you that almost everything that you're doing, everything that you're saying, you're thinking or feeling is just a playback, a recording playing on repeat from the 1,000 moments that you do not even remember. If you've ever said that this is just who I am kind of a thing, if you've ever felt trapped by your own patterns, if you've looked at your life and wondered, why do I keep ending up here? This video could be your exit door. Because today, I'm going to show you something that will make your skin crawl and your heart race. You are not who you think you are. And that is the best news that you'll ever hear. Trust me on this one. Here's what we are going to unpack together today. First, we will look at what personal history really is, this invisible prison that most people live their entire lives in. Second, I'll show you where it comes from, not just your childhood, but deeper, from your ancestors, from the energy, from your bloodline. Third, this is where most people's minds break open. We'll explore what Dr. Joe Dispenza discovered, how your past is literally hardwired into your brain and why that's keeping you stuck. Fourth, we will discuss about the most liberating part. In that, I'll give you the process, the actual steps to become nothing. And finally, at the very end, I'll share that 1 degree shift, that tiny deviation that changes your entire trajectory. So stay with me because the final piece, that is the difference between reading from freedom and actually living it. Let me begin by telling you a story. There was once an elephant, a baby elephant, tied to a small wooden post. One day, he would try to break free. Pull, struggle, fight against that rope. But he was too small, too weak, and the rope held. So eventually, he stopped trying. Years passed, the elephant grew massive, powerful, capable of uprooting the trees. But that same thin rope tied to the same small post still held him. Not because the rope was strong, but because he believed that he was weak. That rope is your personal history, and you are that elephant. When you were 5 years old, someone laughed at you when you sang, and you learned that probably I'm not a good singer. When you were 12, you failed a test, and you learned I'm not smart either. When you were 15, someone rejected you and you learned that I am not lovable. And now, decades later, you still tied to those moments. Those single moments that happened in contexts that no longer exists, to a version of you that no longer exists. And those past moments are still running your entire life. Eckhart Tolle calls this the pain body, this accumulated emotional history that hijacks your present. But it's much, much deeper than that. Gabermate, the trauma expert, he shows us something really dark. This pain isn't just yours. Sometimes it is inherited. Your grandmother's fear, your grandfather's rage, your great-great-grandfather's survival terror. They just didn't tell you the stories about it. They passed it down through DNA, through energy, through the way they held you as a child. Now, there is a science called epigenetics that proves this now. What your ancestors experienced, the famines, the wars, the losses, they all are there. They're all in your cells as information. And you're carrying these wounds from wars that you've never fought. You're afraid of things you've never even experienced. Your personal history isn't even personal. It's ancient. And you have made it your identity. You say, I'm an anxious person. No. You are a person who learned anxiety from someone who learned it from someone else, who learned it from survival itself. You say, I'm not good with money. No. You are carrying a poverty consciousness from ancestors who genuinely had nothing. And that fear, it became your default setting. Now, this is what Bhagavad Gita meant when Krishna told Arjuna that you are not your body. You're not this mind. You're not these memories. But Arjuna, like you, like me, couldn't see it because the illusion is so convincing. Now, let's talk about what's happening inside your brain. Dr. Joe Dispenza, the neuroscientist, the researcher, he discovered something really revolutionary. Every time you have a thought, your brain fires specific patterns of neurons. And when you have the same thoughts again and again, those same neurons fire together. It's also phrased as neurons that fire together, wire together. This is basic neuroscience. And here's where it gets darker. By the time you are 35 years old, 95% of who you are is only a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, and hardened beliefs. And nothing else. It is just information that you're storing. And this information functions as a computer program. You wake up, same side of the bed, same thoughts about your day, same worried feelings, same coffee, same routine to work, same complaints, same reactions. You think you are living? No. You are repeating. You're reliving it every moment. Dr. Dispenza calls this living in the past. But it's much worse than that. You're not thinking about your past. You are the past. Your body has become so addicted to the same emotional states, the same chemical releases, that now it craves them. You're chemically addicted to being the past you, to be the person your history made you. And that is why change feels impossible. Not because you're weak, but because your body is literally addicted to the familiar version of you, even if that version is miserable. Let me give you an example. You grew up in a home where love meant criticism, where attention came through struggle. So your nervous system learned to associate stress with safety. Now, as an adult, when life gets calmer, when things are good, you feel wrong somewhere inside you. So what do? You create drama. You pick a fight. You sabotage the relationship. You'll find something to worry about. Not because you want chaos, but because your body, your neurons, your chemistry is wired for it. That's your personal history running the show. The Upanishads say something really beautiful. You're not the doer, but you are the witness. But unfortunately, most people never witness. They just do on autopilot, running programs written decades ago. Now comes the state you have to become nothing, the highest state that you can achieve. And here's where it gets mystical. I need you to stay with me because this sounds strange until it doesn't. The goal is not to become more. The goal is to become nothing. And nothing is not empty. Nothing is infinite potential. Think about it like this. A cup full of old tea, stale, bitter from yesterday. Can it hold fresh water? Of course not. First, it must be emptied. You, right now, are that cup. Full of old conditioning, old stories, old identities, old pain. And you're walking around looking for new experiences. But you can't receive them because there is no space. You have to access this space, this quantum field where all possibilities exist. But you can't access it as long as you are somebody. As long as you are, I'm the person who always fails, or I'm the anxious one, or I'm not good enough narrative. That way you are defined, and defined means limited. But when you become nothing, when you strip away every label, every story, every this is the kind of person I am kind of a narrative, what is left behind? If you were to remove all of this, what gets left behind? Pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure energy. And energy can become anything. You know that from science, right? This is what Buddha meant by emptiness. This is what Sufis called fana. This is what mystics across every tradition discovered. Emptiness is not loss, it is liberation. Let me tell you something about Nachiketa from the Katha Upanishad. A young boy who meets Yama, the Lord of Death. And Yama offers him anything he wants, wealth, power, long life, whatever. But Nachiketa asks for something else. He says, teach me what happens after death. Teach me about the self. And Yama says, to know the self, you must be willing to lose everything that you think you are. That is the price you have to pay. Not your life, but your identity. And most people, they'll die before they can let go of who they think they are. Even if who they think they are is killing them, they will continue to be that. Now you may ask if there is any process to let go of our past. Yes, there is. And it's being practical about it. Because philosophy is beautiful, but you need tools for that. Here's how you actually let go of your personal history. Step number 1 is awareness. You cannot change anything that you cannot see. So start watching yourself like a scientist. Observe yourself attentively, your reactions, your behaviors. When you react to something, give yourself a pause and ask, is this me responding or is this my history responding? When someone criticizes you and you feel that rush of shame rising within you, is this about what they said or is this about what my father would have said 20 years back? When you avoid taking risks and you tell yourself, I'm just being realistic, is that really wisdom? Or is this your grandma's fear of losing everything playing through you? You need to be able to witness it. Don't judge it, don't fix it, just see it. Byron Katie calls this the work, questioning every thought. Is this true? Can I absolutely know it is true? Most of the time, the answer is no. Step number 2 is separate your identity from your behavior. Now, this is quite crucial. You are not your anxiety. You are a being who experiences anxiety. You're not your anger. You are and awareness that notices anger. Do you see the difference? The moment you say, I am anxious, you've made it your identity. But when you say, I notice anxiety moving through me, you've created a separation. You have created space. And in that space, there is choice. Step number 3 is burn the contracts. Now, this might sound dramatic, but do this literally. Write down every story that you've been telling yourself about who you are. You call yourself, I'm not creative enough, I'm bad with money, I'm always messing up with relationships, success isn't for people like me. Write all of them down and then burn that paper, not as a ritual, but as a decision. You're not keeping these anymore because they're not required. They're not facts. They are stories. And you're done living inside them. You're done keeping them inside you. Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. But first, you have to see the way that you're looking isn't even yours. Step number 4 is practice being nobody. Every morning, before you open your eyes, before you remember your name, your problems, your schedule, there is a moment, a split second where you are just awareness and nothing else. I want you to stay there. Don't rush to become somebody. Don't immediately think, I'm tired, I have so much to do, or here we go again another miserable day. Just be. 5 seconds of being nobody, and then 10 seconds, then maybe a minute. This is the meditation. Not what they teach you in the reels on Instagram. This is real meditation. This is dismantling the self, piece by piece, until what is left is the real you, the unconditioned you, the you that existed before the story began. And now we talk about the 1 degree shift, changing your trajectory that I spoke about earlier. Here's the secret that most people miss, and you don't need a massive transformation. You don't need to quit your job, move to India, shave your head. You just need that 1 degree tiny shift. Imagine a plane taking off from Mumbai and heading towards New York. If the pilot adjusts the trajectory just by 1 degree, the plane doesn't land in New York. It lands in a completely different city. 1 degree. That's all. Your life right now is on that trajectory. Same thoughts, same actions, same patterns, same destination. But if you shift just one thing, 1 belief, 1 reaction, 1 choice, 1 degree, everything changes. Not today, not tomorrow, but 6 months from now, you'll look back and you won't even recognize where you've arrived. And here's your 1 degree shift. The next time you're about to do something, the way you always do, your regular practice, pause and ask, what would I do if I had no history? If I wasn't the person who had failed before? If I wasn't carrying my mother's fear? If I wasn't defined by that breakup I had sometime back or years back, that loss, that shame, what would I do right now? And then do that. Even if it's terrifying, even if it feels wrong, even if every cell in your body screams like, this isn't who I am. Because who you were is exactly what you're trying to leave behind in all this process. The Tao Te Ching says, in the pursuit of knowledge, every day something gets added. And in the pursuit of enlightenment, every day something is dropped. Drop that 1 thing today. 1 belief, 1 story, 1, this is just how I am, this is just who I am, drop it. And watch as the space opens where a new you can finally emerge. So let me ask you something. Now that you know your personal history is not your identity, now that you have seen you're carrying stories that aren't even yours, what happens when you let go and there is nothing left? What do you become when you're no longer becoming? What fills the space when the old you dissolves? Because here's what nobody tells you about becoming nothing. It is terrifying. And yet, it is the most alive you'll ever feel. Every answer that you're looking for is right inside you if you could look. You are the answer. In fact, that's what my book, Becoming the Answer, is all about. You'll find many answers to your queries in this book. It speaks on how you are the universe yourself inside you, and it speaks from the perspectives of science and spirituality, chakra system, epigenetics, neuroscience, NLP, quantum physics, metaphysics, energy psychology, physics, and ancient spiritual wisdom. It's available on Amazon and Goodreads. You'll find the link in the description below. You might have someone you love and care for. The best gift that you can give your loved ones is wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Now, through this video, now you know something that most people don't, and you must share your knowledge with them. Share this video for them to know that you care. If you have any thoughts, do comment below. I would love to read your thoughts. And do subscribe to this channel, Mind Healing with Bhavish. I'm Bhavish Ahuja, a transformational coach and a therapist. And until the next video, I want you to stay blessed, stay healthy, and catch hold of this wisdom if you can. For today, thank you so much for tuning in. I shall see you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.